بإسلامي وإيماني أضاء الكون وزمن بإسلامي وإيماني أضاء الكون وزمن.
Alright, we are live now. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Hope you can hear me.
No. Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
All right. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah. We thank Allah for giving us another opportunity to, to plan that we are going to meet and then actually meeting to discuss or to have another wonderful discussion today. Alhamdulillah. I think this is something that a lot of we humans, we underrate. I mean, this is a blessing we underrate a lot. The blessing of life. The blessing of life is a very huge blessing. When you think about it, sometimes when you hear that somebody died and you just think about it and you wonder how it happened and then how that person would have felt the moment it happened. I mean, I'm talking about someone, not someone that is sick or anything, someone that is just very healthy and the person just, it's the person's time to go and the person just died. It's a blessing we really, really underrate. And sometimes we feel like we are just going to see tomorrow and we are going to see next month, we are going to see next year. And we make so much plans. And when you just think about dates, sometimes it's just like, you don't even need to plan at all. But, it's just a blessing that Allah has blessed us with. And it's something we need to be grateful for every single now and then. Alhamdulillah. I think another way we also underrate this blessing is maybe in terms of the way we spend our lives and the way we spend our time. So what are some things that we spend our time on? And what are some of the things that we do? I'm not asking you for things, I'm just mentioning on a general level. Sometimes when we commit sins, you'll be like, oh, Allah forgives, right? And then you're committing that sin, thinking that you're going to have the time to seek for forgiveness. That sometimes when I think about it, it's just very scary that what if I'm doing this thing and I don't even get the chance to get to the point to seek for forgiveness from Allah. But Allah still blesses me with the opportunity to seek for forgiveness. It's just the blessing of life is really underrated and something we should always reflect on and always thank Allah for. Anyways, that's the intro for today. So today's main discussion is going to be a continuation of our previous discussion on hijab. And today we are going to be discussing, or we are going to be starting with the challenges of putting on hijab or challenges of wearing hijab. So what are some practical challenges and what are also some maybe some location specific challenges in terms of maybe, I believe we can really talk more from the perspective of being in Nigeria and being from Nigeria. We can't really say much about other places because maybe we've not really experienced, we've not had in-depth experiences of those places. Even though we say things online, it doesn't necessarily mean we can say much about those places without actually being there and experiencing those things. So I believe much of the perspective we are going to be talking from is going to be from a, maybe from a general Islamic perspective and from a Nigerian perspective in this specific case. So that's just what we're going to be talking about today. So I would just like to start with Rukoya. I believe you are in a better position to start this conversation. So what is the most challenging thing for you as a Muslimah wearing hijab? So what is the most challenging thing, or what have you found most challenging?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I think for me, my greatest challenge is not what people would expect it to be. Most people that I do speak with will say their greatest challenge is like the stereotype that comes with it. and then probably some kind of expectations from the society, and I mean the Muslim society now, because they expect that once you're already wearing the hijab or you're dressed in a particular way, a set of things are actually expected from you. But then I think my own greatest challenge has been being told to, maybe whenever I want to do any kind of maybe national, how will I put this now, identification or something, and then I'm being told you have to remove your ears, you have to, I don't know if you really get, I'm sure some people actually go through that. So it's, you have to remove your ears, you have to open your face and some things like that. So I think for me, that has been the greatest challenge. Like me wanting to go for international, like wanting to register for my international passport, and then somebody's telling me, no, you have to remove your ears from your hijab, or you just have to use your cap if you want to do your NIN and all of that. So I think that has been my own personal challenge, because I felt like every other thing I can actually cope with, but when it has to do with where I'm standing on the pedestal of the laws of the country, and then I don't have any control over that, I think that is like the greatest challenge for me, because I feel like it is out of my circle of control. And then sometimes I think back then, before there was so much agitation and support for people that are wearing hijab, many people had to like compromise. And I think even for when I wanted to do my NIN, I did compromise, because then I was in 100 level, and then I was not that sensitized very well, unlike now. And then, but fast forward to when I wanted to do my international passport, and I was told at the immigration's office that I have to remove my hijab. Of course, then I had support, and then I was able to like fight through that. But then it was still like a challenge, because I felt like not everybody has the same level of exposure, the same level of strength to want to go against something like that. And at the end of the day, some people end up actually succumbing. So that's been my own greatest challenge. Every other challenge that has to do with maybe you speaking up for yourself, or showing up for yourself, or being who you want to be, has never been a problem for me, because I felt like, okay, that is under my own circle of control. And then there's nothing anybody can make me want to feel like without me giving them the permission to feel like that. But then when it has to do with maybe like an international law that has to do with something like, okay, you cannot be like this, then I feel like this is out of my control. And I think that's been my own greatest challenge.
Interesting. That's an interesting one. So you mentioned international passports, you mentioned NIN. I think, I don't know about the Nigerian law regarding Muslims wearing hijab and taking photos for international passport. But what I've realized from the experience is that across different offices, what do they call those offices? International immigration offices, where they do those things. I've realized that those things vary, right? So I've had my family that went to Abuja to do the registration for international passports, and there was no question. There was nothing like remove your hijab, right? That was in Abuja. And then same person in Osun State tried to do international passports in Osun State, and then they asked the same person to remove the ears from the hijab. So I think
Was that recent?
Yeah, recently within
so like I said, like fast forward to now, when they know there's now hijab rights advocates and all of these other bodies that actually provide their support. Unlike then, when it would be that, okay, they'll tell you to not necessarily remove your hijab, right? But then maybe like remove your ears from your hijab so that we can capture your whole face. But that was then, like I said, like not what's like going on now. So like fast forward to now, it's a bit more, how will I put it now? Like people are now fighting for it more, and then it has really, really reduced. Like it's almost non-existent. Like I've not had a very recent case. But then back then, okay, like when I was in 100 level, when I wanted to like
Mhm.
do my own international, my NIN, I also had someone that
Yeah.
wanted to do international passport, and then she had that issue.
Oh.
So that was like as far back as 2015, 2014 then. So, but
Wow.
then now I think it's a little bit how will I say it, receptive kind of.
Mm. So, but
But
what I
that's
just want to
been
say
my
about that, I just want to add something to that. So the Abuja and Osun State experiences are the experiences from another person's experiences, right? But I'm talking about, I did mine. I renewed my passport like 1 month ago, right? And there and then, when I was inside the office where I did renew my passport, it was in Ilorin, by the way. And there was this Muslim lady that was there that she had to do her own. And then the person told her to do the same thing, like remove her ears from the hijab. And what she did was very unthinkable. It was out of this world. So I just wanted to extend this, that sometimes, just like we mentioned in our last podcast, some people don't even understand what the hijab is, right? They don't understand what the hijab is. I think some people have turned the hijab, or they think it's more of a cultural thing. And then when those kind of challenges pop up, it's not so complex for them to just say, I'm going to remove the hijab and do this thing. Do you understand? It's because it's not really a religious thing for them, and it's not really connected to that spiritual level. It's just more like something I wear to show I'm a Muslim. And then when they get somewhere someday and they know they need to do this thing, they don't even hold back. And some would don't even mind to remove the old thing. It's only here they ask them to remove. Some would don't mind to remove the old thing and say, well, I have Laluri, they call it Laluri. I mean, this Laluri thing, Yoruba people say Laluri up and down. I don't know if you've heard about it. Laluri is like, I don't know the English word. Laluri is more or less like an excuse to do something. I think that's how they use the word. So, a lot of people just say Laluri, of which there's no Laluri in this case, right? Just like you said, there has been a lot of hijab advocacy. So it is now left for people to now take up and realize that, okay, yes, this is a right we have. You understand? But just like we said to the last podcast, people need to really understand what hijab is. People need to seek knowledge. It's not enough to just wear hijab. And you can imagine, I mentioned an example to in the last podcast. I saw a student in Ibadan. She was wearing hijab, and she was wearing like very short skirts that was even shorter than the people that were not wearing hijab. So what's the point of the hijab you are wearing if you are wearing very short skirts? And the people that are not even wearing hijab are not even wearing skirts as short as yours. You understand? So I think it still goes back to that point that it is very important to seek knowledge about these things. The knowledge of the deen, the knowledge of all these things is very important. And
like
that's
the first
that's a
one,
very
why
valid
we
challenge.
want to do anything we want to do.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the first challenge. I think what are other challenges? Maybe let me push this to Hassan. What are some of the challenges that you've seen people that wear hijab face based on interactions with people when you were where you what are some challenges you see people face and you feel like come on.
Oh, Assalamualaikum.
Wa alaikum
Uh,
salam.
it's like it's hard for me to talk about that overall because, however it might be, the challenges is still a little bit proxied over to my side. I didn't experience it, so I can not really manifest it, but at least I'll try my best. I think the first one, and I don't even think it's OAU. I think it's a cultural thing. I think Rukoya also mentioned it. That is the fact that when you wear hijab, there are things that are required of you by the society. Required now in air quotes. However, you might be your own person and have your own behavior, have your own stuff that you do. A lot of people will use you to define everybody else and use everybody else to define you. By
Mm.
proxy, everyone that wears hijab have the same character. And
Mm.
unfortunately, yeah, it's good. It's good at times when those characters we like to be called the black men when they are talking good things about black men. When they are talking bad things, I'm not a black man. I am Hassan. So it also happens in that way. Like,
Interesting.
and it's very popular than you think. And maybe it's a little bit cultural at times. And the funny thing is that you even find is even inside Islam. And that's very painful. Maybe it's coming from one that will say, oh, they don't go pull like us now. But this one coming from people that are not wearing hijab.
Yeah.
And then try as much as possible to, I'll give an example. Like, sister, kinkiyon. But I mean, even me, and I'm not a sister, I might not greet you. It's not because I don't want to, I might not see you. You see, don't, because one person did it does not mean all of them don't greet you.
Yeah.
Now, so it comes from, like, I don't know, from their perspective, maybe it's like they're expecting everyone that wears hijab to be of a particular level of piety. Unfortunately, we should know that hijab, everyone's, like, I think Rukoya said it, hijab is supposed to be what every lady will wear. Like, it's not, we're not supposed to identify as hijab. Yes, we're a Muslim, you should be a hijab. And then we now go to another level. Sister, she always abused me or something, I don't know. But that point of assumption that everyone that wears hijab has a hive mind, they have been taught to hate their husbands or mother or something like that. They are not supposed to greet people. They do stuff in the background. And the funny thing is, a lot of people even very idiot sin, crazy sins because of that.
Yeah.
And I don't think this is even there. I think we all understand. I don't want to start talking. Very. I read one hadith today, one of those 7, what's the English? Those 7 sins. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I think I know
one of those things. Like, oh, no, you don't want to say that again, please. So that's the one thing I know for sure that most people usually fall in. Another one is also
before you go on, I think we need to maybe discuss that a little bit. Yeah. So I think the point you are trying to make there, let me just try and summarize, is that the challenges that come from Muslim to Muslim, basically. Yeah, and or sometimes non-Muslims, right? But you are emphasizing on the one that comes from Muslims to Muslims. For example, somebody is putting on, maybe the more, how do I describe this? Somebody's putting on full hijab, right? And I don't know, maybe it's because of envy, like you mentioned, but the way they address the person and then the way they make stereotypes and then generalizations about the person. So I think maybe sometimes they are perceived to be like angels from heaven, and they are not supposed to sin. They are not supposed to, they are infallible. They are supposed to be perfect, like, 100% good. So I think that's a very serious one.
Sort things just like you.
Exactly, of which we are all humans.
The unfortunate, we're all humans. The unfortunate thing that, like I said, is like it's usually from even people that you would not expect. Like, maybe they are using it to, one way or the other, overcompensate for they are not. I'm trying as much as possible not to be judgmental, but I believe you understand my point. It's very hard to sorry, it's Nepal. What in God's name is wrong with this thing? It's very hard to tell me otherwise, really. So that's my point right there. I have another one too, but that one is more like I think I'll stop here. Let's see someone else.
I think maybe Rukoya should just make a quick comment on what Hassan has just said. Yeah. Is Rukoya here with us?
Rukoya is frozen. Frozen Rukoya.
Oh, did you hear what we said, Rukoya?
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you now.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I lost you for a bit.
Oh, yeah. So did you get what Hassan said?
Yes, but I wish it would elaborate more on it, or maybe like if a person could just let me summarize, or because it was kind of breaking. So.
Oh, okay. I think I did a quick summary. Yeah. Should I do it? Yeah. Should I do the summary again?
Yes, please.
Cool.
Oh, okay. So I think the main idea of what he said was there's this expectation or this form of expectation for people that wear hijab. And the expectation is almost like an 100% performance expectation in every category. You can't make the mistake of not greeting somebody, even if you don't see them. You have to see everybody. You have to greet everybody. You have to be perfect in everything. You understand? So there's this kind of like expectation from such people. And then, you hear all sorts of things, like an example that Hassan gave, that sometimes some people will make such comments that, that they don't greet people. You understand? And some other people will they will go to the next level of making crazy comments about people, like saying and then they are the ones that will be doing so. They will be accusing them of grievous sins, and they've not even seen them commit that sin. You understand, right? All because they see them covering up, and then maybe somebody somewhere who is also a human being committed a sin, and the person was covering up. You understand? So that's also a challenge that Hassan mentioned. So maybe you can give a comment on that.
It's actually a big challenge on a communal level, like, because the thing is, there are so many unrealistic expectations, and I think it's because, okay, when I was reasoning on this, then I just felt it was because people kind of fear what they don't understand. And because they just can't relate with, why will anybody in this century choose to dress like this? And they can't find an answer to that question, and then they just can't make sense out of it. It kind of scares them, even though they don't always own up to it being that, okay, I think they're kind of scared of these people. And then the thing is, something with humans is what they don't understand, they tend to always find faults with it. And then even when that thing is, even when the positive side of that thing is looking at them stuck in the face like this, they would always still find a way to bring it down, in a way, like envy that Hassan mentioned, because they just don't want something like this to be the norm. They don't want to praise something like this, so that they don't become an advocate for it in any way. So that's like one of the communal challenges too, because people don't understand this thing, and then they just feel like, what exactly is going on? And then they kind of feel like, okay, for us to not understand this thing, and then there are still some people that are doing this thing, probably there's a kind of cult thing going on. And one effect of that thinking, or that, okay, these people are like a group, they're in a kind of cult and all of that, is that's where the synchronicity comes in. So you see this person, they call the person Alaja, see another one called the person Alaja, see this one called the person Alaja, so that when one Alaja does something, it is all the Alajas that did it. So I think that was one thing that I really put, like, I when I noticed that trend, when I began working, and then whenever I go to work, because I don't go every day before, and now I even stopped going fully. So I'm fully remote now. But then when I still go, I breathe in, and I meet a person, and then the person is like, oh, Alaja. I said, no, don't call me Alaja. Call me by my name. Because that is where the discrimination starts to set in. And I can imagine you wanting to maybe like speak to a client about me, and then you're not saying Alaja. No. And then the person already now has a kind of how will I say it now?
Preconceived mindset.
Exactly, preconceived mindset already now. So okay. So I kind of like tell them that, call me by my name. I have an identity that is different from every other person out there that is also wearing the hijab. So whenever any one of them wants to start, even when my boss, our CEO, called me Alaja, I did not answer him for 3 times. I was saying it. last, you sacked me. But I did not, because I was really, really bent on, you people must identify me by my name. And when you want to speak about me in my absence, you are speaking about me as Rokoya and not as Alaja. Because once you start addressing me as Alaja, then a lot of things now starts being put into place, and you start ascribing me to what I'm not, even when I'm very, very fallible. So that challenge is very, very, like, it's quite on a communal level. It's quite that for most people.
Interesting. But also, I think there's a positive side to that, generic challenge. There's a positive side to it. I don't know if you get
Oh,
what I mean, like in the sense that, okay, maybe there's a set of people that have been doing good, and maybe they've been able, in a particular community, there's a set of people that have been doing good and they've been wearing a hijab. So let me give you an example. So I don't want to give a specific example, but there's this family in the place, and the children wear hijab, right? And the children are known to wear hijab. And the children are also known to have behaviors that have much like unique behaviors in terms of behaviors towards people, behavior towards their parents. They are known to be calm kids, you understand, and they are known to be obedient kids. So a lot of people in the community even envy them. You understand? They envy them that I want my child to be like this. These children like this. You understand? But at the end of the day, that's the positive side of it, right? Or that's an example of a positive side of it. So at the end of the day, these people that envy that positive, the benefits of that thing, maybe not, maybe. But let's assume they are envying the benefits of these people wearing hijab. But would they really want their own, people to wear the hijab, even to get that benefit? That's also another question, despite the positive part you get. So
I don't
I
think
think there are
so.
multiple. I think there are multiple sides to it.
So,
Anyways, I'm just trying
I
to
don't.
say we shouldn't just
if
talk
I
about
can
the negative
interject,
part and maybe just talk about the
uh,
positive side of it as
before
well.
before Rukoya speaks about like because that positive, I wanted to just mention it. Right now, I
Okay.
think I
Yeah.
came across one post a few years ago that I was like, what is this? We don't need this. But obviously, like I said, most things don't concern me. While I will
Mhm.
have that opinion for 2 seconds, alhamdulillah, I'll forget that opinion. So it happens like that. But particularly for this, I think we have advantages of uh, of ascribing to Islam as a whole. I'm trying to paraphrase now for very, very weird reasons. Like, for example, Muslims don't do this. Muslims don't do it. Everybody knows that Muslims don't do it. You get my point. However, we know that Muslims, they are people, and they're just as diverse as you might be. You get my point. I think I'm not even making sense. But my point is that there are positives to this.
Yeah.
There are things that, like that you cannot give Afar pork. He will not eat it. But I'm Afar, but I'm Hassan, and I eat it. I'm Hassan and I eat it. Well, that does not really help the kind of Afars everywhere. You get my
Mm.
point.
The
So I think there are both
credibility.
positives, credibility of Afars everywhere. So I think there are
Yeah.
both positives and negatives. However, I don't know how to navigate that. But I think, like Rokoya said, knowledge is a very, very important part of it. Let people know that people are different for whatever they are. They're different for it. Yes, as a Muslim, we will enjoy whatever another Muslim did that made the right impression on
Mhm.
the whoever it is, both Muslim and non-Muslim, who enjoy it. But when it happens that they are bringing that, we should try as much as possible to be in the position of correction. For example, my mom,
Mm.
she has the one friend I would call her, or like a close colleague or something like that. And then yeah, people like money at different levels. And yeah, she does stuff about money that might be a little bit, to me, they're not even questionable, but yeah, from women to women level, it seems questionable. And then from that, I mean now, me that the woman that I want to marry, so you cannot have that preconceived nature about people that wear hijab and now we'll be like, mommy, better call. It's not supposed to be like actually. I think she's just does you get trained as much. And now she's very, very 100% on the wagon, like she's just the different one. Me, I know other people that even though I don't even know if she knows other people, but at least I've tried to impress on her. Like there are other awesome people that they are not like that too. Like, oh yes,
Mhm.
yes. So let us start from let us be able to correct people wherever they might be, if we're in the position of correction, and let them know that
Mhm.
yes, this is Islam. We do our
No.
Islam. Islam is not changing. Now we do Islam, we have our own parameters that will show once in a while and does not define Islam really. So
Mm.
that's
No.
my input. I don't know
So
if
basically,
Rukoya has any.
being pioneers of
Yeah,
the
talk, let
positives
people know.
and the actual thing that Islam says anyways. But we can't be perfect.
And one thing,
Yeah.
if I can add one thing too, I don't
Go
know if
ahead,
you
go ahead.
noticed something, that if you correct one person, whoever the person might be, those corrections usually last longer in their head than something that they hear. Like you personally correct that person. I've had this discussion with certain of my apartment mates while in school about why Muslims don't shake ladies' hand. Well, man, I went scientific with them and I explained it like really, okay, after I did my scientific stuff, okay, with all of this now, would you think it makes sense to shake a woman's hand or not? Actually makes sense. So you actually have a point. I believe from that point on, if she hears that a man does not shake a woman who is not his hand, she will, yeah,
Hassan said this the other day. Interesting.
said this the other time, and he made it a good sense of it. So
Yeah, that's a very
if
good.
we don't shy away from those kind of, some people are afraid of explaining. Yeah, I'm not really part of that. If I don't know anything, I'll just say, I beg, leave me. But if I at least know it to a point that I can explain to you and let's let you know that actually it's not what you think it is. I think I explained, obviously, Laplace is laughing. I explained polygamy too. Like, oh, really? Really? And you know, it was really like, yes, you are making point too. Yeah, it's good point too. I'm not agree. This one is more sentimental than logical at this point. But I know from that point, it's less of something that they do, more of there is a reason why they do it, if there is any. So let's be willing to let people know so that we become less of what require explain that what people don't understand. Wallahi, they tend to power or hijab. So may Allah put barakah in our efforts.
I think there was even, sorry, I just want to like chip this in quickly. So I think when I started wearing the hijab and I started having issues from home, I think one of the fears was that this person is going to be backwards. And the thing is, I have a very, very exposed family. And then I think one of the things that I really used for my mom was, okay, Mommy, do you know I'm like the first girl? And then would you rather I'm like a person that dresses in so like, and I used examples of those around us, that would you rather I dress this way and I behave this way and I do like this and I do like that, or you would rather that I'm closer to Allah? And then I'm like a kind of example for my younger ones. And then she was like, hey, you can still be an example even without wearing the full hijab. You don't know the kind of eyes they're using to look at you. So after that again, okay, would you rather somebody that is after pleasing God than pleasing people or thinking about what people would say? And then she was like, hey, there are still ways that you can please God. She was looking for different excuses. I was like, okay, no problem about it. But then she actually did come around when she started like had to like reason that, okay, I'll have it one way or the other, so it's better I just choose this one than, and I'm going to choose like another example that is like on the negative extreme. So I think that was like one of the I would like to put this now, one of the ways that we can actually make some of our parents actually understand that, okay, this thing is not like it's not a bad thing. Like, let them understand it from a point of the positive side, even without the religious side, because don't expect them to understand that, okay, this thing has a spiritual connotation. Just let them look at it from the positive angle alone first, because that's where they can understand too. So when you start chipping out spiritual, this is what the Quran says, they'll just be like, so, and then they'll now even start giving you examples of wives of Afars that they don't dress that way, and wives of Afars that you get because they see them as the archetype. And then so I think that's like maybe one of the ways that a person can actually make their parents understand. That is, of course, with Allah's help, definitely.
No, inshallah, that's a very good one. So I think we've said that this is the time for Abdullah to come in. So where I want Abdullah to come in is from the pioneer perspective, because the last thing that Okoya just said now, that giving example is also kind of connected to people that have done good with that thing. Do you understand? So if I want to give an example of good people that have worn hijab, there has to be good people, or sorry for using the word good. But I want to use an example of the word of good people. Just let me use the word like that are putting on Hijab. You understand? There has to be good people, right? So what is the importance of being a good pioneer of these things? And what are some examples you can give that maybe something you benefited from? That okay, because this person was a good pioneer of this thing, I benefited from that thing. Bad thing. So they don't give their fat thing a negative connotation. Do you hear what I mean? For example, if people give them a job, yeah, we can hear you. So if people give them a job, they do the job well. They don't steal money. You understand? They don't steal material. Do you get? And they know. So when somebody now wants to recommend another person, they say, "Oh, I want to do so. I pay Afa, then you get that Afa is a very good person. Afa does this, he does that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I just want Abdullah to give more insights on that and maybe share some experiences if possible.
Yeah, Bismillah. That's kind of hard for me. Like I have two policies that I go by personally. One of them is don't judge one by many, and don't judge many by one. Right? Just because I think one Afa has done well for me, probably doesn't mean I will give Afa the next time. That's just one principle I live by in life. Right? Like I'll probably pick an Afa that's doing something over someone that is not Al-Afa if I've not worked with any of them before. Because I have a mindset that for you being Al-Afa, you should know some level of what Islam permits and what Islam does not permit. And that way you should be able to be just with me. Of course, I will do my due diligence. So then if we fail that, then yeah, we are done for good. So it doesn't really matter whether you are Alpha or you're not Alpha. At times it doesn't really matter whether you're family. So that's number one thing. So I don't like to use the example of, oh, I work with this Alpha and he did this, and Alphas do that. If you go and ask somebody else to, they will say Alphas do otherwise. So people always have opinion about others. So like, I don't like to see things from the perspective of what people will think or what people will say, particularly the one that is not within my capacity. Right? If I want to tackle a problem, the first thing that comes to my mind is, what are the issues that I can fix myself? Right? What am I contributing to this? What negative am I contributing to this? So then it now comes to like, the rest to me is like secondary. That's like how I tackle things. It's not like the same for everyone. So I look at what is my own issue first. Then I look at what are the other issues, right? So I think you've all mentioned these points one way or the other. So, and that's about education of the person wearing the hijab herself, right? I just think like it's not been emphasized enough. So you have to know the Sharia, part of the hijab that you're wearing. And you have to know the rights, maybe the country that you are in, the school that you are in. Take, for instance, the passport example, if I remember very well. So there were some times where it was not being allowed, right? And some hijab advocacy come up and it starts being allowed. That means it was never part of the law. Do you get what I mean? That means it was never part of the law. Or maybe they fought for it, but most likely it was never part of the law. Some people were just against hijab, but they just think it's not cool and you should not use it. So, and after the advocacy, people came in, may Allah reward them, they started dropping it. So that's part of like knowing our rights. Right? If you are going somewhere as an hijabi, I think one of those things that you should do is make research ahead. You are going to immigration, you should already know you are in Nigeria, for example, they would want to give you trouble. So look up what are the issues that you can come across there. Look up their rights. What are you allowed to do? What are you not allowed to do? So if you already know, the only thing you need for your passport is just your face, not your hair. No. If anybody tells you that, you let them know, no, this is not right. This is not right, right? So if they have anything against you, they should bring the evidence for that, or wherever they have that, or if you know someone else that you can, it's always good to have some connections to that you can reach out to if things go south. Like, this is what these people are trying to do. And there is you don't have any right to do this thing. So and the Sharia perspective of what are you allowed to, like you said, I think you said it that a lot of people use hijab, they don't even know. You give example of someone using hijab and still has skimpy dressing. So that beats the whole purpose of hijab. I think we should educate ourselves more on what's the actual hijab like? Why is the hijab like? Ourselves, our daughters, people around us. And more importantly, my whole point that I was going to talk about is our family. Like, it starts from our family. So I was at my in-laws place today. So something happened, right? So I think my wife just went home where like all of them are at home after the walima. She started using niqab during walima. So then we've been inside the house. I was talking to her father. People started coming to greet her. So I think I can't really remember what happened. Maybe she went out and she was coming back, so she was on niqab. So when those women were like, laja, Elea, they wanted to open, they want to say, so as she was open, they were like, so they were like, covering her face, I was like, that's our father. So the impression is no one can see your face. Once you go hijab, once you go niqab, for example, no one can see it. So that's actually kind of scary if that's true, right? Nobody would ever want to put on hijab or put on niqab if you have the impression that once you use it, nobody else can see your face forever. So that might be the reason why some of them will never use it, because they don't know. They don't know what is right and what is not. So I started telling them, even my own father can see our face. Talk less of our own father, right? And I started to explain that the only people that can't see are the strange men, not the men of our family, not the men of, you get what I mean? So that education is very important. So I mean, all the issues of what people say, what people expect, they are there, like agreed 100%. So but if we don't fix the issues with ourselves first, right, we are not getting anywhere. So
I think that's a very fantastic point. So basically the change begins with us, like the old preaching has been for the past couple of years in Nigeria. Change begins with you, and then from you it goes to other people. I think that's very important, and that's really where we need to solve the problems from. I think you want to add something.
I wanted to add something to what Hassan, I think Hassan was explaining something when I came in. So about what people about when people say like bad things and generalize it. So I just wanted to add that it's actually very nuanced. You would see some people that they will say, oh, halajani, like halajani, they are very good. Right? You would see some things like that. Same thing with brothers. You see, I'm fine, in fact, I'm respecting you. So that might not be much, but I don't know. It depends on the environment that you are in. For example, if you're in the kind of environment that I'm in, people praise religious people very well. So I mean, some people do the otherwise too, but people praise religious people to a reasonable extent. When they see you, JJ normal law, blah blah blah. So I think the problem there is the hypocrisy most times. So, like people do the negative. The problem is the hypocrisy. They want to fit you into two boxes at the same time. So what do I mean by that? So when, say for instance, when they want to relate with you and they have issues because they've related with a sister in the past, just for instance, because we are talking about hijab, so that did something wrong for them, they will be like, sister, they are fitting you in the box of other sisters, even though you've never had anything to do with them. Now, at the same time, when you want to wear your hijab out of your freedom, they will say, they want to fit you into that box too. So do you want you to be like those sisters, or you want you to be like these people? So they always see like the negative side of it. So I think the problem is the hypocrisy. People say good things, people say bad things, but I mean, if we just fix ourselves, all of those things will fall in place. That's what I believe, to be honest. If we fix ourselves, we know what we're doing, we are convinced, we do it with confidence, right? Nobody's going to challenge you. Why? Like somebody asking me in a meeting, for example, why am I wearing cap? I'll be like, why are you even asking? Why are you wearing face cap? Why are you wearing your shirt? Why are you wearing? This could be my cultural dressing. This could be my religious dressing. Like it has nothing to do with console.log or whatever code I'm gonna write. So unless there is like sane, objective, rationale behind what you want to say. So if we fix ourselves, the knowledge of what we're doing is actually the freedom. Right, we fix ourselves. We know we're doing it, and we have the confidence. Wallahi, people say, people doesn't say, blah blah. People don't say, blah blah blah. We just ignore and we just do our thing, and gradually they will just start adjusting. And inshallah, it will get better.
So I think we've shared a lot already. And
On this on the people thing, I think I'm very much in support of what Abdullah has just said, in that people need to work on their own selves, especially Muslims. Like there's a lot of work to be personally in the community. And then I think one thing that I just want as a message for sisters out there is that the hijab is a responsibility. Aside it's being let me say the obligation to, like, there's an obligation to this thing, it's also a responsibility. And there are, as with all responsibilities, there are duties to actually fulfill when you're trying to carry out an obligation. So sisters out there should really, really work on their selves, like self-development. And I think knowledge too should be one of the primary aims that they are going to have. Like sometimes the kind of talks that sisters have are talks that will be like, okay, these are not the things you're supposed to be discussing, because number one, it even goes against the rule of Islam and all of that. And then it doesn't even develop you in any way. And then the kind of companies that they keep, and then the fact that, as mentioned, they want to belong here and they also want to belong there at the same time. Like, so, like, my whole point is, if you want to wear the hijab, right, wear it with, I don't say your full chest, but wear it boldly.
Confidence.
Yes, wear it with confidence. Try to build yourself. Try to be a role model. Of course, we already have role models that we should emulate, which are the Sahabiyats, and then women in the Quran that we read about, and then we read about their conduct and all of that. So if we really look into how these women actually lived their lives, the thing was, they really worked on themselves. And the thing is, you can't pour from an empty cup. So if you don't have something, you actually can't give it. Like, if you've not even built yourself to an extent, you can't even build your children. And then you can't even now say you want to build a community on another level. So I feel like sisters really have a lot of work to do. And I think some of them actually recognize this, and that's why they're even shying away from even wearing the hijab, because they feel like, once I start wearing this thing now, this so will be expected of me to this and that. I'll not be able to do this, I'll not be able to do that, and all of that. But then it's like, as Allah said, we are vicegerent on his earth, and then we all have our roles to play, and then we should just seek knowledge about how to play these roles. We should always seek self-development, how to refine our character more. And then there's even the part of the deen that part of an hadith that says that your deen is your character, and then whoever surpasses you in your character has actually surpassed in your deen. So, like, they should really, really work on themselves. Like, I see a lot of sisters of this generation are actually doing it, but then may Allah just continue to aid us.
I wanted to, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I like what Kaya mentioned. Like, I do tell my Izal this a lot. So, like, it's very hard. It sucks, right? That people judge us, people put us on pedestal, like even males or females. It really sucks. Like, no one likes it. Just because I'm on cap or I'm on this thing doesn't mean I'm like perfect. Like, I don't know. It's kind of like illogical that people do it, but it is what it is. So, but the fact still remains that we have to be role models, right? So it actually kind of hope that people look up to us, that people like judge us. Wallah, it's kind of help. Like, there will be sometimes I'll be like, she will call us, why you see they do them? Like, we're not the one that mentioned this. Why are you doing it? So immediately you look at yourself like that's true. Like, remember so, like it kind of help. That's what I'm trying to pass across. And I think all of us should, males and females, should try to work on ourselves to actually be good role models. Like, I mean, like, I'm lacking. Like I know a lot of us are lacking, but we should use the opportunity to step up. So they shouldn't have anything to say that those sisters did this. If our characters are good, people would always complain for sure. Like, but they would not have like something logical apart from emotional to say. But characters
sentiment.
Yeah, apart from sentiment, preconceived notion and all of that. But something that is actually reasonable, they would not have it to say. If your character is good, you deal with people gently, you don't get annoyed unnecessarily. You know, you are nice to people, you stay in your place, right? You don't meddle into things that don't concern you. So if you take all of these things, if you take them serious, right? I think and actually use the opportunity to improve ourselves, and I think that would be good for everyone. So they would reduce their sins too of saying things behind our back, and we would improve in the sight of Allah. So yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to say that I think even putting yourself on a pedestal higher than where they put you kind of work. Like if you hold yourself to, yes, exactly. So if you hold yourself to a kind of level that is even beyond where they put you, it's kind of make it easy for you. And honestly, if anyone is actually going to follow Islam and practice exactly as, or let me say, to the best of how the Prophet ﷺ actually did practice, his standard is like even higher than what people now have as their own standards. So if we actually do make that our goal, I feel like most of all of these problems would actually be solved. Because no matter how critical people can be, they can't go past where the Prophet ﷺ has said that, okay, these are the characteristics of the level of what we are expected of as a Muslim or as a Muslimah. So I feel like if people really, really do actually use that as a pedestal, it would actually beat the other expectations that people do have. And I think that's where Ihsan comes in a way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, sure. Like there are a lot of ayat in Quran, like it's just too much. Like that tells us these things already. Like a lot of ayat that is already judging us. Do not be rude in speech, restrain anger, be good to others, do not be arrogant, forgive their mistakes, speak to people mildly. Like there are a lot of ayat already.
Yes, and actually this thing is actually massive emotional intelligence in a way.
Yeah.
Like when you start looking at all these little things, and then when you start practicing it, you start to understand. Like, okay, for instance, now, like when I was going to start, okay, most of the people I work with now, they're actually not even on this continent, right? So when I wanted to start working with them on their own time zone and all of that, like one of the challenges I had, or maybe one of the things I was thinking about is, okay, how do I relate with these people that we are so different in terms of everything, in terms of religion, in terms of societal standards, in terms of culture, like how do I even relate with them? And then it was during that time that I think last year, the Hijab, that we had this seminar on 10 characteristics of 10 good manners, right? I think we also did it this year too. So there's like 10 good manners from like, it's like a book from Sheikh Solih Al Uthaymin. No, Soimin, astaghfirullah. So one of the 10 this thing was something like greet people, like, and then when I checked the how will I put it now, the and hadith on just greeting alone, there are actually like ways to actually greet people. So for instance, when you enter into a place, you are the one incoming, you have to greet those that you meet. And then when you want to leave before the meeting ends, you have to let them know that you're about to leave, and then you say the taslim to them, or you greet them that you are leaving. And then the younger should greet the older. The one sitting, the one standing or the one walking should greet those that are sitting, and all of these little things. So whenever we have meetings like that online, and I meet them, even if I meet them at the middle of the conversation, I greet them when I get in. And then when I'm leaving, I do the same. So there was a day that I didn't make it to class, and then the CEO himself was like that, "Oh, Rukoya is not around today. Where is she?" And then someone messaged me and said that Will actually knew that you were not around, that what happened? So I was like, okay, blah, 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 something happened. So like, to me, I didn't see it as a big deal. I just saw it as, okay, it's just one of those things that this is how you like can do something like this. And then I didn't even know it was going to be something that was going to really have so much impact like that. So, and I feel like it's actually like that for so many other things. Like, so that's social, emotional intelligence is like Islam really teaches us that a lot. We just need to, how will I say, there are so many ones. They are like speak what is good or keep silence. If you're not sure what to say, just keep silent. It's like those are the things that really helps me a lot.
Let's stay on track here. So we've said a lot of things, and I won't be able to summarize everything because I've not been taking notes today anyways, but I can just mention a couple of things we've mentioned. So one thing that I feel is the most important thing we've mentioned today is that all of this, solving these problems that we mentioned, begins with us. It begins with me. It begins with every one of us, right? We need to first and foremost seek knowledge ourselves. And, as we are seeking knowledge, try to implement this knowledge in our lives, in the lives, and then try to pass this knowledge to people that are very close to us. And then from there, we can now pass this knowledge to, other people. When I mean people that are very close to us, I'm talking about our family, and I'm talking about, our parents and stuff like that. So I think that's where, I'm just trying to summarize everything. I think that's where it all begins. And every other thing that we've said kind of aligns with that. Because if we are talking of being a good pioneer of, the Muslimah, or being a good pioneer of Muslim men, it all begins with me, myself, right? For example, I fix myself. I'm trying as much as possible to have as good ihsan as possible. So you understand, right? So since I'm trying to do that, it brings a lot of things with me. It brings a lot of packages. Like when you are installing a browser, or you're installing a software that comes with a lot of plugins already installed. So it's like when I'm installing ihsan, it comes with a lot of good and fantastic plugins already, that when I have ihsan installed, I don't know anyone that has ihsan installed, because demand is always going up and down. I'm just being a little bit virtual, yeah. So when that comes in, a lot of other things come alongside, and then it makes one not like full package, but it makes one a better package, such that even without knowing, you're already a good pioneer. Alhamdulillah, we've come to the end of this particular podcast. And then I think one very important thing that we should do here is to seek forgiveness from Allah. So anything that we've said that is wrong, or that is not from the deen, is from us and shaitan, and Allah and His Messenger are free from it. May Allah forgive us our shortcomings as well. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
بإسلامي وإيماني أضاء الكون وزمن. بإسلامي وإيماني أضاء الكون وزمن.